You'll know when you have a wild woman. She'll practice her craft without boundaries. She is truly autonomous. Her loyalty is only to the family she serves, a midwife who will not allow herself to be held back by a system she didn't create.
This podcast is for the birth keepers who want to grow and change. We are open to learning through self-reflection and supportive community. We are creating this space to explore without judgment. We are remembering we were
Born wild.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Born Wild podcast. This is your host, Leah, and I'm with
Clover, Sophia, and Emma.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. I feel like I've missed a few of the last podcasts. You guys are all together all the time, so I'm blaming it on that. But yeah, we can do a check-in. Emma, I want to hear your check-in, and I want to start with you because you left your sunglasses at my house.
She's gonna start crying.
We've been looking for these everywhere.
She has been they've been on missing posters around town. We've had some real therapy sessions.
I wish that everybody could see me right now.
Only I kept meaning to text you the last week, and it's been a little bit of a week, which it always is, but I was like, those are totally Emma's.
You have to understand, we actually have clients who check in with her, have you found your glasses yet? It's been this storyline for quite some time. They're because she bought new ones, and they're oh, you found your sunglasses. She's please, can we not talk about this? They're different and they're not the same. Okay, well, now I have a check-in. I was racking my brain for a damn check-in. Oh my gosh, you guys.
I actually teared up a little.
I know, I did too. I had a body response. It's good that this is what's wrong with our lives right now. Let's just bring it there. It's been worse. There used to be bears eating goats. Yeah. And now so I've been saying, I really miss my emotional support sunglasses. You know, when you find a pair of sunglasses that are just this is it. And I asked all of our clients if I left them, and Leah's wearing hers. Clover scavenged through her whole car, didn't find them. She'd actually found some other sunglasses. She's are these them? I'm no. And I'm wherever my sunglasses are, I hope they're happy. And then I went to Target and tried to buy another pair, and they just were not the same. And oh my gosh, Leah, you saved. Yes, baby. Yes. Oh, so grateful. That is a good check-in. That is a great. I'm
so glad I could provide that joy for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah. Yep. I'm growing out of my emotional support beanie because it's warming up, so it switched to my emotional support sunglasses. Other than that, I don't really have anything else going. I mean, I have a whole bunch of stuff going on, but
what are you talking about?
You're trying to decide your next steps. That's a good thing. I'm trying to decide my next steps of finishing up midwifery school, which has been a long, long journey, and whether or not to go to a birth center and get that experience or stay. And I don't know. Clover and I are both trying to figure out how we're going to get the experiences that we need. And just trying to figure all that out. So that's been an ongoing conversation around here.
Mm-hmm. How exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about you, Clover? Update?
I don't know if this is the same update that I did last time, but I'm in the process of moving to Petaluma. We're officially moving on Friday, which is very exciting, to this very remote little rustic barn. So that's going to be fun, and it's a little hectic, but it's been okay. I'm excited. It's going to be really nice out, and I'm excited to be closer. We got some pagers, which is going to make a big difference.
You stole my check-in.
Oh, damn it. Sorry. I'm excited about the pagers too. So yeah, we got some pagers. I'll let Sophia tell you a little bit more, but my little barn doesn't have great service around it. It has good service in the barn, but it'll be helpful for being able to go on a walk or go on a run or maybe even go surfing. So I'm really excited about the pagers.
Yeah,
And
we're very excited.
Welcome, ladies, to the pager then.
You inspired us.
So fun.
You do your check-in, and then I also have one other thing that I wanted to talk about.
You had a question for Leah about pagers. So Emma was saying like I could really go to the river where I don't have cell service and I could still get a page if somebody needed me. Have you guys utilized yours and do they work?
So I've had them on and off for years, like since I was a doula, like 20 years. And they have historically worked for me, but if there's like very specific places I end up ever going where I'd need them, like Lemantor Beach, they work.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do is, and Nina and I have talked about doing this recently, we haven't yet, is just doing test runs, being like at 3 p.m. Pay.
Mm-hmm.
Just so that you have a heads, you can test out different places. There should be like maps, I think, that are on the website. Are you doing the same service I have? Yeah, that have like the range of it, but yeah, it works. I mean, what I tell people and what I experienced, because we did test them with each other, just like, but we haven't tested locations, is you have to really like follow the instructions all the way through, do it slow. Like if you hang up too fast before it beeps afterwards, the page won't go through. So like just making sure people really know that. But
okay, yeah.
But it's great. Like I've gotten body work done recently because that's part of my self-care. And I turn my phone off.
Oh, it's so nice. Yeah.
Whereas like before when I get massages, the phone's like below the face cradle, so I can open and look if it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited about it.
mm-hmm.
Well, I guess my check-in will be, I went to a birth today. I had somebody call me who was released from care because she was 42 weeks from her midwife. And so she called me, and as a sister and friend, I showed up and did nothing but clean up. They just had their baby and I hung out with their 12-year-old and we talked about all the things important to 12-year-olds. And then the dad came running out and he said, very messy. The baby's born. It's very messy. You should come. And I was like, oh yes, it is very messy. And so I helped clean up and, all the fun stuff after and went on my way. And it was so great. They were so grateful to not have to like go to the hospital, but feel like, somebody was there to hold space and support them. So it's awesome. Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, and we were just oh wait, you had one more thing.
Leah? Did you?
Oh yeah, yeah. She mentioned.
Oh, my check-in. Yeah, I don't know. It's raining over here. I don't know if it's raining where you guys are.
It is.
It's what's been going on? Yeah, just a lot of like development stuff with my practice, which feels really good. I had a slew of really nice births. I had a first-time mom where I was there for 1 minute before her baby was born. It's the first time I've ever not been able to get gloves on. And she was a late to care client. And yeah, I guess I'll get in her story a little bit. She was just such a great example of like, loving what I do. Is she was late to care and she'd been seeing Kaiser, and she just, the story, guys, where it's like, there's just the last thing. Like there was just one last conversation with her OB where in the beginning they were like, oh yeah, we never do that. And then 38 weeks, like, so we're going to need you to do this. Mm-hmm. And when I met her, she was, just normal anxiety for somebody planning to give birth in captivity. And then just watching her whole demeanor, like mellow out. And she had, like a 7-hour labor. And Nina and I got there and like walked in and the dad was like, the baby's crowning. And we were like, okay, sure.
You were just talking over about first-time moms.
Yeah, this would be a good one for like, I don't know if you guys have already talked about this, but I was saying, Leah, that I went to my friend's birth this week and it was also like a really lovely, super straightforward, like 10 hours or less prime of birth with 20 minutes of pushing. And, we never checked her. I think we listened to heart tones like once, and this was like, and this was with my other preceptors that I was working with in Oakland. So they have a very different practice. One of them is a CNM, and I basically like didn't call the midwives really intentionally for as long as I possibly could. That was like kind of the plan. And so, yeah, she just had a really beautiful birth. And I was realizing that I have in the past just had this assumption about private births at the birth center. Like they kind of suck and I don't really want to be at them. And like sometimes they're super empowering and awesome, but most of the time they're kind of a drag.
They last a long
They last a long time. You have to pull out of the stops. They need a lot of support. So you just end up like doing a lot of midwifing. And so, yeah, I was asking Sophia and Emma when I got it, and I was like, wait a second, like, is this just like a thing that happens when you're being really heavily medically managed, or is this kind of a reality? And I think it's probably a mix of both. That, like, you know, the thing that I saw so often at the birth center was these first time birthing moms who would come in, they would get checked a bunch, they wanted a lot of reassurance, and no one ever like pushed back on their need for checks or stuff like that. So they had a little bit, I would say, too much information and were pretty discouraged throughout the process. And
because it's kind of like once you get information, then you feel like there's this obligation to follow up on it more often, you know?
Yeah, and they needed these suggestions for what position to be in, because they would be like, what position should I be in? And no one was just like, whatever works for you. They'd be like, well, why don't you try this, or why don't you try this? And then their whole labor was basically like a repetition of someone telling them what position might be best for them to be in. And so so yeah, I don't know, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't actually what this is like, it's just a version of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think at least I've seen in my own practice, and again, this is like just my experience, is a clear link between not doing vaginal exams, you know, and I think it's a balance between like being really available for support and also being like, you're an adult woman and I'm going to let you manage your early labor and be here if you really need me, if you need me. But like, I don't know, there are changes I have made, and I have seen a direct correlation between shorter first births for sure. Like, you know, 24 hours or less, relatively smooth. Like being more hands off with water births I really feel like there's been a huge connection between time and smoothness and, you know, all of that in the last like year or two. So, and sometimes,
go ahead.
Oh, sometimes first birth, I mean, this was really fast. This was like, you know, and from the beginning, I mean, like it was like 7 p.m. that she texted me that she was starting to have cramping, and like she had some show, I think, and the baby was born at like 2 a.m. So it was really fast. But from the beginning, they sounded really intense. And it's always that thing of like, okay, are you acclimating to the intensity of labor? But clearly, I mean, she didn't even push. Like I got there, she was on all fours in the bathroom. I like got to my knees, you know, dad says baby's crowning. I'm like, okay, maybe. You know, baby was under the pubic bone, totally visual, like, and she said, he's going to come with the next push. And I said, okay. And he did. And she didn't even really push.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, that was like my birth with Ben. You know, I called mine on the second contraction. I'm like, I know it's too early, and in hindsight, that was as hard as it got, you know, like that second contraction was the most intense of all. It just maintained it, you know, and it was 6 hours. So, yeah, we were just at a birth, Emma and I, on Saturday, and she asked me once, she was like, I just have a question. How do we know if I'm dilating? I said, oh, you are. She was like, okay. And then that was the end of it, you know? Yeah, I was like, we assume you are, and you are. And she did. And she only pushed like 15 minutes, 17 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting because at this birth, I was talking to one of the midwives afterwards, and she was having this dialogue about like, how do you have that it's a hard conversation to have when you're with a first time mama who's in labor, and it seems like they're early, but they're struggling a lot, and you want to give them some kind of like tough love, like reality check, like with a lot of love and compassion, that like this is really intense and it's gonna have to get more intense. And like she was talking about like how like we need to have these conversations, and like this is just like this needs to happen. And I have definitely felt like that before. And then I was like, oh, like, do we need to do that? Like, is that our job? And is that helpful at all?
And do you know it's true?
Totally, yeah.
Because mine didn't get any harder. If somebody had said that to me, I'd be like, because that was my fear. It was like, oh my God, that's how it felt to go from 1 to 2, the first to second contraction. I'm fucked if I have to do this for 24 hours. I didn't need somebody coming in saying it's going to get harder. I just needed someone to be there, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny because I hear people having that same conversation with moms prenatally, where they're like, well, if you think pregnancy is hard, just like wait till postpartum. And it's always like so unhelpful and like not nice. And I was like, oh, but maybe that thing that we sometimes do, or at least that I've seen a lot with moms in early labor who, it's their first baby, and we're like, so just so you know, you're working really hard, and it's gonna have to get a little bit more intense in order for your baby to get born. Like maybe that's also just complete bullshit.
Well, because it's like messing with their brain too. Like it's like if it gets hard, she's just gonna like cope and integrate and all that. But if you have got her in her head like, oh my God, this is gonna get so hard, and already feels so hard, like her wheels just start spinning and turning and potentially getting really disappointed.
I don't know if I would, or if I do say to women, like, it's going to get harder.
Yeah. Like,
I don't know if I've heard other midwives do that. I don't know. I think it's more like people will read, like, is it going to get harder than this? And I might, I'll be like, I don't know. It's totally possible. It's a really long journey, or I don't know. I just like find humor really goes a long way with most things. You could be like, yeah, it could get a lot harder, or it could not. And you could make me eat my words and prove me wrong, because that happens.
I think I try to get people to stay in the moment, like all you need to do is focus on where you're at, like it's impossible to predict where it's going to go and how it's going to be, and what you just did doesn't matter. So just like stay in the moment, or you'll just start spinning your wheels and stressing yourself out over stories, right? The difference between stories and like what's actually happening.
Yeah. And I walked into a room and been like, okay, I really feel like this is early, and she's already seeming like she's working really hard. Like, oh boy, should I have that conversation with her? And then be totally like made to look like a fool because she's
have that birth together at Leo. It was one of my clients, and we were like, chatting in the living room, like, is this really early? She seems really quiet, and she had a 6-hour labor, because we were just chatting, and then all of a sudden she started pushing, and we were like, oh, okay.
Well, or like somebody who's having a really big response, and seems like they're really using a lot of their tools that they've accumulated in pregnancy to cope with what's happening. And you're like, okay, so you just started contracting. And in my mind, I'm maybe going like, okay, this is maybe her expectations or her ideas about how labor would be were not accurate, whatever. And in my mind, I'm going like, okay, maybe, oh shit, like this can be hard for her to integrate, that it's going to be a lot harder. And then it's not. And then she has her baby. So like, I guess I just say.
Or she does realize that she's overdoing it. Like there was a birth that you and I went together at the last minute, Leah, where it was like she even tried pushing for a little while, and she was using a lot of her energy, and then she just kind of like chilled out for a while when that wasn't working for her, like without us having to say like, no, don't do that, save your energy.
Yeah. I think a conversation that I used to have more with people that I still do, I don't know, it's just, and I think maybe it's helpful that I had a really typical first birth where I did like, when, I started having show and some contractions like in the evening, and I was a week late, and I like did the, crying, I'm never gonna have my baby thing. And then I was up all night listening to Jeff Buckley, like having really mild contractions every 4 minutes, that I was like, I rolled into the hospital because I was, we all know I had a hospital birth, my first, like, and the nurses were like, your breathing is really great. Cause I was like, sending me half, and then they sent my ass home, and I I did the like really classic primip, like my active labor started like that evening after I puked and given up and let my husband sleep. And I was like, all right, whatever. And then I had her at like midnight the next day. But so I guess like having had that experience, I can kind of make fun of myself and like use that as an example. But I guess what I tell people is like, or what I have in the past is it's a common thing I've noticed for people to, when they first go into labor in the evening, be up that whole first night. And there was actually a post on a Facebook group about this recently. I don't know. This is the Midwives Anonymous. Are you guys on? I know you're on that one.
Yeah.
But it was like expressing frustration about this happening or about this conversation where like, you tell people you suggest that they lay down and get rest that first night, but their doula tells them to walk around or they decide that whatever. And, but yeah, the conversation of like, it's really exciting and it feels intense when it starts, but a common thing is that you're up all night and then the next day when labor really kicks in, you're really exhausted, and that could lead to transfer because your reserves are burnt.
Yeah, I know. I just always tell people like, you got to plan for it to be 2 days. Like always be prepared for it to be 2 days. All the decisions you make, you're preparing for a 2-day labor, And I mean, like the exhaustion thing, I have trouble with that one sometimes because I feel like I don't know if I've ever been to a birth where the mom was not exhausted, like even my 6-hour birth, I was exhausted, but that like depleted and exhausted are maybe two different things, because you can be exhausted and totally pass. Like if you get tired enough, you will pass out in between contractions if like in a good position where you can do that. I think the thing we're trying to avoid is where you're like so depleted because you haven't like ate anything or drank anything, and like you're just like delusional at that point, and not in a like labory way, but like in a healthy way.
Yeah, I guess I just mean like by the point that you're really in that deep active labor place where you're like maybe throwing up and you really can't eat and whatever, like there was this window of time where you could have been resting, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I used to really have that almost with everybody, that conversation, and I just don't feel like I do that much anymore. I don't know why.
This birth we were at Saturday, I'm trying to remember what the mom said that made me say this, but I said something like, remember, we always prepare for a 2-day labor and just to be pleasantly surprised if it happens sooner. And she was like, oh, I don't know if I could do this for 2 days. And then she got really quiet. And I think shortly after that, she got out of the pool and went into the bedroom and laid down. She was just kind of like, but if it is, I should go lay down, and without saying that this is going to be that long, but just like, remember, that's always our plan, is that it might take this long. And so she went and laid down and she fell asleep on the ball in between contractions, and then she woke up pushing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, what I tell people, which makes sense to me, and I feel like it resonates, is just that, your body's job, what it works so hard for your whole pregnancy, is to keep your baby in.
Yeah.
From conception, really, it's like this conversation you're having where it's like, is this a foreign thing inside my body that I need to get rid of, like a virus? I mean, not to be weird, but like, that there is a part of that that's going on where it's like, are you needing to expel this foreign thing or not? And your body works so hard to keep your baby in, right? And then all of a sudden, it's not like a light switch where it's like, okay, now it's okay to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like, not, there's layers to that emotionally and spiritually and all of that, where it's like, are you ready to release your baby into the world and let go of that protection and control and all of that? But when you think about it, like the idea that you would have 9 months, 10 months of protection in your body's like sole job to like keep your baby in, to have a 12-hour period of time where you just release your baby, just seems absurd. Like, of course it's going to be a couple days. And we explain to people that it's like warm up and, it's a couple days, but ideally parts of it are joyful, and it's in the early part, it's manageable and all of that. But yeah, preparing people for that. I feel like it makes sense to people in that context, and people are like, oh, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other piece is just like, and maybe you said this, Sophia, I feel like I might have stolen this from you, but the idea of like, don't go labor hunting.
I don't think I've said that.
Oh, like, you know, just like, don't go out and seek your labor, like let it find you.
Mm-hmm. We're going to find that right now. That's Leah Ritter.
Like, you'll know when you see it, kind of thing. Like, you don't have to keep timing. Like, you don't, if
right.
you're asking whether it's a contraction or not, it's probably not. Like, the kind of thing where, like, if you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, don't go out and search for your labor. Like, it will find you, let it find you. And when it does, then you're like, okay, it shortens the experience, it can, you know, for you, which makes it more manageable, I think.
Yeah, you're not hyper focusing on every little sensation.
Well, and at the end of the day, like you and I, Sophia, and you ladies too, and Nina, it's like, you're an adult human being, and if you exhaust yourself, you exhaust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know, personal responsibility, and that's your experience in birth. And like, maybe you want to stay up that whole first night and do your thing and be excited and search for your labor, and like, we can't save women from doing that.
Totally. Well, yeah, and it seems like these conversations, if they happen prenatally, can be really useful and can give women a better framework for what to expect. And it seems like the flaw would be trying to have these conversations with someone when they're in labor, and thus like giving them the sense that like, oh, honey, like, you don't really know what's happening, but like, let us tell you based on our experience, because we're the midwives, like how this usually goes. So, because you poor little thing couldn't figure it out. And like, you need to do this, because if not, you're going to get exhausted. Like, I hear you, Leah, and that's always what I've thought. And it's just coming to me right now that like, yeah, I mean, women still push their babies out if they haven't had like maybe 2 nights they've had no sleep for 2 nights, and then they still push the baby out, or 3 nights or 4 nights. Like, you know, they do it. So it's not like you truly are sabotaging your labor to like, get excited or stay up or listen to Jeff Buckley. You just might make it harder for yourself, and that's your path.
Yeah. All of the conversations I have prenatally, like a lot of them, I think the birth team meeting is like when you're talking about when to call and but yeah, the whole time I feel like we're all having these conversations with people. In labor isn't the time to start talking about it.
Totally.
Maybe reminders like, remember that conversation that we had?
Yeah. My mom, when she was in labor with my sister, she was like, I really should have just gone back to bed, but I just like was fixating on making a cherry pie, and I couldn't get it out of my head. So, and it's funny because my sister is like the best baker in the world. So that was what she did
had to
in her
fulfill
early
her
labor.
destiny.
Yeah. But I was wondering, Leah, this mama that went pretty quickly, did you ever ask her, or did it ever come up prenatally what her birth story was? Her mom's birth story with her? Like length of time?
I think so, but I don't remember right now. She literally was like 38 weeks. So we only had, I think, like 3 visits before. She delivered a day before her due date, which is also not super common for a first baby. But
that was me, 39 weeks, 6 hours. It happens.
And
totally. And that's when it's like a lovely, pleasant surprise.
Yeah, my mom delivers quickly. I was 3 hours. I was her first. And then my middle brother is 6 hours, and then 4 hours.
I find it funny anecdotally that a lot of women that I've talked to with their first babies mirror their births. Mine, I did the hour, and like I needed resuscitation, and Dahlia needed resuscitation. Like everything that happened in my mom's birth to me happened with my daughter, which I thought was interesting.
I'm wondering.
Oh, I don't know if I don't find there to be like, I'm trying to decide how I even feel about this. I don't know. I've had plenty of times where it's not, where someone's mom has really fast labors, they have really short or really long ones, or vice versa. And it doesn't necessarily correlate, but people kind of feel like it will, and then they get disappointed but yeah, I don't know.
Wouldn't it be nice?
You could just
Well,
I was away.
it's just genetic. You'll be in labor this long.
I mean, I have a friend who probably wouldn't care if I used her name, but I just won't, whatever. But she was a cesarean baby, and she's a midwife. She passed her test. I don't know. I don't think she's practicing yet, but anyway, she was a cesarean birth and like had a lot of fear around that, and had like a really straightforward, like less than 24-hour smooth home birth, which I know she really loved that.
There you go. You were just asking if all midwives or student midwives are destined to have complications.
I know. I would ask midwives a lot because I feel like that's a theme that I see is like midwives having.
And I'm not able to tell her that's not true because mine were very complicated.
My mom was a student midwife when she was pregnant with me and had her baby. And she always said like she had just started going to births in the 90s. And she was like, I had enough information that I wasn't scared, but I didn't have too much information that I like stayed in my head. And so I'm like, that is just a story that I've totally taken on. Like, oh fuck, did I get past the point where
I know too much?
Like not the right ratio of information. But I do believe that it'll just be what it is. The other question that I had, kind of in the similar theme, is like, I've also heard midwives be like, well, don't wish for the super fast labor because it'll just hit you like a train because your body's going to have to do everything faster and you're going to tear and it's going to be more intense. And do you guys feel like there's truth in that?
Well, I decided that I was going to have a 6-hour labor and I did. So you have to be really specific with these babies. And I didn't tear. So, I mean, I like first degree. But,
I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know if it's like solicited or if people ask me. I think what I just say is like, in Sophia, you and I have a similar thing, is like giving birth is giving birth. And I've definitely had people with very fast births who feel kind of traumatized in the same way that someone with a really long birth can feel that way. And I think it's just both of them have their own challenges. And I haven't seen more tearing in my experience with really fast births, because I almost feel like that's how they're so fast, is because there isn't a resistance. Like, this mom didn't tear at all. We had another birth recently that was like, not that, I mean, we were there for longer than that, but it was pretty straightforward. And I think she had like a little bit of tearing, but it wasn't anything that we didn't need to repair. And it wasn't anything like super crazy, but when they fly out, it's because they've got enough room to fly out.
Exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. One of these days we should talk about tears, unless you guys have already done that.
I don't think we have. We could talk about that.
Yeah.
We can wrap it up today, but this was a good topic. First time mamas.
Again.
Any other closing thoughts from anyone?
Oh, just that this last birth that I was at, my friend, I told her, Sophia, about your strategy of just like wish for the birth that you want and like say exactly the specifics of how long you want to be, how long you want pushing to be. And it was exactly what she asked for. She wanted it to be 10 hours.
Friend.
Yeah, this was like my good friend who I was at her birth this past, like a few days ago. She got 10 hours of labor altogether and 20 minutes of pushing.
Nice.
That's what she wanted.
I mean,
I was like, this is freaking
there's
amazing.
a way you can like really put the intention and then also be flexible. Don't be like rigid about it, but like just talk about it like it's already happened.
Yeah.
And may it be so. I play a game with people at the end of their labor or at the end of their pregnancies that I just made up. It's like roll the dice. It kind of shows that like labor progresses like with the roll of the dice. It could go either way. And depending on what they roll, they either progress like 1 or 2 hours, have gone by, and they either don't dilate or they dilate like 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters. And I never tell them how dilated they are in the game, but the dilation tells me like how quickly the contractions are. And that's what I tell them, like, oh, they're every 20 minutes or they're every like 5 minutes.
And the game, I always start with like, nothing bad ever happens in this game. It's always a beautiful home birth. Like you can take that piece away. But it brings up conversations like, oh, I didn't think about what we would do with the kids if it was the middle of the night, or, it brings up conversations like that, or like hindsight reflections of, oh, I didn't eat once, I should like make sure I'm eating, or, things like that. So it's been a fun game to do. And it can bring up certain things. Like there was a mom once who in the game pushed for like 4 hours, and she was like, oh, that would make me so nervous. And I was like, but if there actually is nothing going wrong, that's not a bad thing. Like it's okay to push that long, So she was able to like spend some time breaking that bias down that she had, that like fast pushing equals like something is right, and long pushing equals something must be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it was good to see you, even if on Zoom, Leah.
Definitely. Well, many happy births before we have our pod again.
Yeah, and tell Nina we said hi. And yeah, until next time, thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thanks everybody for listening. You can find us at Born Wild Podcast on Instagram. For inquiries or feedback, you can email us at bornwildpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me, Emma Ray, on Instagram at Emma Ray, REA. Sophia at sophiabirth.com.
And me, Leah, at Bay Area Home Birth.
We would really appreciate it if you would rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us reach more people. And as always, stay wild.